Hi, you miserable podders. What's up with you? Welcome to the gun room. Well, the margin for error is very brief now, isn't it? We can't get away from anything. The end is in sight, though. We're looking towards this, well, not this one, the real one, and see whether we can come out the other side of it. This is made by South Coast Print, by the way, and you can find them on Facebook. So it's South Coast, all one word, print, and it's from Eamon. So thanks for that, Eamon. It's absolutely brilliant, and we'll keep that on the podcast on the running. Well, it wasn't the best weekend ever, was it? Not the best result. Another away trip, another 2-goal lead surrendered, and another draw. This led to a great many fans voluntarily ending our title challenge. We'll get to that on social media. There's many of them. They were looking for scapegoats and questioning even Mikel Arteta. But as I say, we'll get to that. Thankfully, for all you pessimists out there, I have the antidote. I have the podcateers to bring sanity and reason to the podcast. So we've got Jay. New surroundings, Jay.
Yeah, just sitting in the kitchen.
He's got his Arsenal extractor fan there.
Yeah. So
everything all right, mate?
All good, thanks. All good.
Brilliant. Lauren, how's Barcelona? Do you know what I wanted to ask you? Does it feel weird kind of working in a place where you should be having a holiday?
I mean, I've lived here for a while now, so I'm kind of used to it, but it's nice. It's having every weekend in the summer when you finish, you can go straight to the beach.
Yeah, all right.
I'd recommend it. I'd recommend it, guys. You should try it out sometime.
Well, over here at the minute, it's really nice in the morning. I mean, it was cracking morning this morning. Then by the afternoon, it turned sour and it was cold and it was coats and everything else. Anyway, there's no Paul tonight. He's being treated at an NHS hospital for severe disappointment at the weekend. His nerves are shot to bits. He's probably drinking way too much, but we look forward to having him back on the podcast at some stage. At least this is what happens when you hire a series of shit managers. Thankfully, Sean Dyche is in the role now. Paul will have a big smile on his face at the end of the season. Jay, first up, how big was this opportunity that we missed?
How big? I mean, to try and put a positive spin on the result and obviously the Liverpool result is, well, after the final whistle, things aren't that much different now than they were before kickoff. We still, obviously we're slightly we dropped 2 points, City gained 2 points on us, but ultimately the goal, as long as we don't slip up on Friday, is the same as it was before kickoff as to when we go to the Etihad. It was never going to be easy.
You said this weeks ago. You got to earn it.
We were always going to drop points, and I still believe City will drop points. I didn't think we'd drop points against West Ham. I thought it would be. I thought we'd be able to get the result. Disappointing. The performance was concerning, to say the least. And I thought Arteta's substitutions again were a bit confusing. I thought he, for the first time, I think this season, really, I thought he looked a bit panicky. Or his substitutions were a bit panicky, and that rubbed off on the players, because the longer the game went on, the worse the performance got. So as far as opportunity dropped, you know what? I don't think a huge opportunity. I think I said last week after the Anfield result, some draws are good draws, and I think the Anfield draw was, all in all, a pretty decent draw. I think the West Ham draw was a bad draw. Mm-hmm. And, obviously you end up with the same amount of points, but it's the psychological effect, isn't it, of, getting a point at Anfield any season is pretty decent,
I think this season, not that any of the big teams have got it, have they? I can't recall them.
No, and obviously, if we went 2-0 down at Anfield and came back to 2-2 and you get the point, same point as you do the other way around as we did it, you're kind of celebrating it and you're treating it as an achievement. Whereas, you know, in both these games, we've surrendered a 2-goal lead. Should have won both games. But the game on Sunday against West Ham, you know, they were struggling, and to be fair, they could have won it, couldn't they? You know, we were lucky, really, again, to get away with just a point. To answer your question, I don't think there was an opportunity missed. I think it felt, from my point of view, from a supporter's point of view, it felt a little bit damaging. You know, it felt like the team will be affected. I think there's no doubt. You know, you're not human if you're not affected by that. And I was just a bit concerned, like I said a minute ago, I was a bit concerned about Arteta's subs and his ideas, and you know, because he had options on that bench, and I think he chose the wrong options for the second week running. So yeah, really disappointing. Struggling, you know, you're struggling to find any real positives from that, aren't you? Apart from the first 10 minutes where we absolutely blew them away. But
yeah, it was all looking good, wasn't it? I was singing, I was shouting, I was screaming, I was up on my feet, and then, I mean, God knows what happened. It just all fell apart. But we'll get to that. This obviously, as Jay said, Lauren, increases the pressure going to Southampton. It's unthinkable that we don't get a result in there, isn't it?
I mean, it is, but didn't we draw with them in, you know, at the start of the season as well? So,
oh, you had to mention that, didn't you?
Well, let's just be realistic here, you know. Where everyone's depressed Arsenal fans again, you know. But I just think, you know, maybe this is the issue that we're getting a bit complacent. We kind of said, you know, Anfield is going to be really tough. We were let's be honest, there was 9 games left prior to the Anfield game, and the 3 games we were looking at was Anfield, St. James's Park, and then Etihad. The rest we were banking on as being safe wins. It's the Premier League. They're never going to be safe wins. You know, you have to go to those games, respect your opposition, regardless of where they are in the table. You know, they might be in a relegation battle, but they have as much to fight for as we do. And you can see that week in, week out now as the games come to an end. And yeah, I think it was just complacency really that put us in the position. So I think a massive thing that we have to go into the game against Southampton is that this is a must-win game. This is an absolute must-win game. And look, I think as long as the players have dealt really well with pressure up until this point, Arteta as well, you know, up until a game or 2 ago, there was no question marks hanging over their mentality. They'd come up and they'd proven themselves capable of dealing with every situation that has been faced with them. It's, you know, the pressure's gone up a level now. We're getting to the finish line. It's, you know, it's within sight. It's tough. I mean, I'm sure none of us can imagine what it's like being a 21-year-old player and, you know, having that much pressure on you, attacker, whoever it is, you know, they're all young. It's tough. It's very, very tough. And you have a young and inexperienced manager as well. They have to learn as they do. And, you know, mistakes are going to be made along the way. And as long as they can learn from the mistakes that were made last weekend and even the weekend before, go into the Southampton game, learn from their mistakes previously in the season as well, it should be good. But, you know, it was a tough lesson learned, and, you know, opportunity lost.
It was a hard watch, wasn't it?
It was nasty. It was definitely nasty. And I don't think any of them really wanted to be involved in it either. It didn't look like that. No, and there was no real grit. There was no real determination to try and, you know, it was just a matter of keeping the head down and getting the game over with. But no, provided that the players can bounce back and, you know, Arteta can keep calm in the Southampton game, it should be a game that we are able to get a result from. However, we've seen now, okay, none of these games are easy. We can't get complacent if we want to, you know, continue to push City towards the very end.
Jay, Arsenal news, and Mikel Arteta came out with something that may have some bearing. Arsenal news said that the result was down to a lack of composure, and Arteta said there was a lack of aggression. A lot of lacks there, but what do you think? It's got a point. They've got a point as well, haven't they? We did fall apart a little bit. We looked too comfortable, too cozy.
Yeah, I think that you can see all of those points from Mikel, but I think as well, we lack a killer instinct, you know, but you only gain that through like consistent domination, if that makes sense. The reason City are so good and is because they have that experience of just killing teams off. They season in, season out, regardless of the player turnover, because obviously it's high there. as a club and as a team, it's drilled into them that you finish teams off, you know, and then Pep will make the changes. And we haven't got that at the moment, you know. Again, with inexperience, I'm not sure I really bought into the whole of the team got complacent, as in the complacency that in years gone by, maybe some teams have been guilty of, because I think the team's too inexperienced to really think, oh, we can just take it easy now. I think it was a culmination of certain, you know, you look at the handball and the penalty, and it was going so well up until that point. I just think the pressure that's coming in the last few weeks, and obviously that's going to come, it can only, with the team, they just have to get through it, right? They just have to, the manager has to try and coach them through these periods of high intensity, and being able to deal with it. I mean, the second half was terrible, but the first half, it was bizarre just how quickly the tables turned, wasn't it? It was crazy just how one penalty decision affected their ability to make the right decisions, because in every game this season, bar Everton, we have dominated from the first whistle, haven't we? Every single game, including United away and including Liverpool away. Southampton, like you mentioned earlier, we drew that one. Every game this season, we've dominated from the first whistle. Now, I'm not saying that continued all the way through, but again, same at West Ham. And I think that's a huge positive. But I just think the pressure at the minute is getting to the players. There's certain key players that are missing. We can't overlook that. You know, Zinchenko wasn't playing. Thomas Partey had a shocker. Who would have thought that? You know, he's been so consistent. I think there's just so many different factors that, but also, you know, with all that in mind, the team is still really young, isn't it? They're still learning, and this is the first run at the title. You know, Liverpool had a few runs at it. They missed out by, what was it, a point when they achieved 99 points or 100, and they still didn't win the league. And then the following season, they came back and they won the title. I just think it's a culmination of a lot, just to label the team complacent, just, you know, flippantly just say, oh, they got complacent. I'm not sure the team, I know it sounds a bit bizarre, but it just didn't sit right with me that a team so young and just eager to play, and that they don't have too many players that have been in this position. I just think it would, you know, I just didn't really necessarily agree with the complacency thing. I just thought it was a culmination of a lot of different factors. And as soon as West Ham got that penalty, the crowd woke up, didn't they? And they affected the atmosphere.
Yeah,
and,
damn it.
yeah, so it was disappointing. But the plus point for me is the situation hasn't changed that much. Like I said, we're still in the same position. We didn't lose, which was massive in both the games. You know, at Anfield and at West Ham, we didn't lose, which was absolutely key, because you lose one or you lose both, and the season really is over. And because I don't think you can recover from that. I think there's the Anfield, there was plenty of positives, but I mean, there wasn't too many on Sunday, but we should have been outside, shouldn't we? And I think Mikel's going to be focusing on that. You know, in training this week, he's going to be focusing on maintaining the good start and the positive elements of the game, but also being able to stretch that out and control games. But more than anything for me, it was a lack of killer instinct. Another goal in that first half, or if Saka scores the penalty, you know, we had chances in the second half, didn't we, as well? We should have scored, you know, which I'm sure we'll touch on. But it was worrying, but still, I'm still remaining positive. I'm still hanging in there. I'm not giving up just yet.
See, Podders, that's what we're bringing. We're bringing positivity to the table. Let's have a look at that side then. Saliba was still out with a back injury. Tomiyasu, knee. Zinchenko, I didn't know where he'd gone. He wasn't even on the subs bench, and then I found out it was a groin injury. Nketiah was back on the bench, and as was ESR. Trossard missed out again, even though he'd been excellent recently. So nearly knocked my tea over there. That would have been a tragedy. Let's go with the team. 4-3-3. It was Aaron Ramsdale. Kieran Tierney, really nice to see him back. And he was we'll get to him, but he was doing that Zinchenko bit, wasn't he? He was drifting into the centre. There was a lot of that going on. So obviously that's something that Arteta wants him to bring to his game. Gabriel Holding, we got a terrible mark, didn't he, for his performance, but never mind. Ben White, Martin Odegaard, Thomas Partey. What's that smell? Granit Xhaka, Martinelli, Jesus, and Bukayo Saka. So unfortunate for Zinchenko, who got negative feedback for his Liverpool performance. But as I say, it was nice to see Kieran Tierney doing his stuff, wasn't it, Jay? He's more of the traditional defender, whereas Zinchenko drifts into that midfield that we were talking about.
I've seen, post-match, he's been given a bit of a hard time. I thought he did pretty well, I thought he put in a decent performance, made some, obviously a lot more, sort of, you're more natural defender than Zinchenko is. And it's tough to expect him just to slot into the middle and assist Partey in there, because he's not, he's not used to that. He hasn't played much, but I thought he did all right. And I like him as a player. He's a good player. He's just, unfortunately, he's not technically as good as Zinchenko, and he can't offer as much going forward. And that's not his fault. That he wasn't bought, all those years ago to play that role. He's just expected to do it. And fair play, I thought he did all right. And I mean, like I said, I've seen a few people giving him some grief, and I didn't agree with it at all. I thought he did okay. Yeah,
absolutely. Arsenal played really well for the opening 20 minutes, and then the wheels came off. West Ham's high press really was noticeable from the first whistle. And I was just saying, Dave was in the front room with me, scoffing at Stella. He left the building afterwards. We didn't even speak. I wouldn't speak to him. He wouldn't speak to me. It was one of those. The tight marking and the high press went 7 minutes in. Vintage Arsenal. Jesus gets it on the end of a chance. Saka skips into the area, finds Partey, who lays the ball off to Odegaard. The Arsenal skipper slides in a great pass through to White, low cross, and it's tapped in. It's meat and potatoes, isn't it, for Jesus? I mean, I was kind of expecting, Lauren, Jesus to probably crank it up and get a few, but it didn't work out that way.
No, I mean, the first few minutes, it just was in cruise control. It was a ridiculously easy watch, I would say. Little do we know what was coming, but it was a classic Arsenal goal. Lovely pass and quick touches, and Jesus was there just to tap it in. And I'm so delighted he's back scoring. We mentioned last week he's scoring from open play again. There was a lot of criticism of his, goal contribution prior to the World Cup, actually, and then obviously he was injured for a good stint after it. And I think a lot of people were worried if he was going to be able to, how he'd fit back into the Arsenal team, how, would he be bringing those goals? And I'm delighted to see that doesn't seem to be the issue at the moment. When the chances come, that's the main thing, is stringing those passes together and having that flow. But the way it started, it was really, really positive. It looked easy, and I think we were all probably thinking, this is going to be a good chance to close that gap on points with goal difference with City, if it were to come to that at the end of the season. And it looked like the match that we'd be able to do that in, because West Ham really didn't get, they didn't get a sniff of the ball. We were all over them. It was crazy. Even just listening to the commentary, they didn't even know what to say. They kept referring to it as a training match, and that's exactly what it looked like. There was zero pressure on the Arsenal players. It didn't look like a Premier League match for the first 15-20 minutes at all. It was different level. And I think when we're saying complacent, I think that's kind of what we're referring to, is they just had adapted to that. Or sorry, when I was saying complacent earlier, I think that's what I was referring to. They were, they started the game
on
strongly.
Your own there, though, Lauren. There's loads of people
saying
complacency has crept in, so it's good points from both sides, Jay and yourself.
Yeah. I just think that they just didn't really get out of that gear, and then when obviously things didn't go to plan, which I'm sure we're going to go into a bit more detail after, there just was no way back. It seemed as if they were setting the mindset that they didn't really need to push themselves. And I think that's where I was coming from with complacency, because what happened after the penalty was conceded was car crash. I can't remember a self-destructing performance like that in a long time, certainly not this season. So yeah, no, but the first 10 minutes were great. I really enjoyed them.
If only we could play a 10-minute match,
Yeah.
we'd be away, wouldn't we? We'd be top of the league and hand on the trophy. Not that one, the other one. But yeah. Anyway, I noticed Jesus. His work rate's phenomenal, isn't it, Jay? I mean,
Yeah.
there he was up the front. He was down the wings. He was interchanging all over the place. But he was right back in midfield, especially in the second half. He was trying to mop up and sort things out.
Yeah, he's class. He's class. Just to let you know that Chelsea are going out of the Champions League. Real
Good,
Madrid
good.
just
We,
scored. So
good old
Shocker.
Frank. Good old Frank, eh?
poor Frank. I mean, I feel a bit sorry for him these days. I've got to be honest. He just needs
Really?
he needs to take up. You see him on the sidelines, and he just doesn't look like a football manager. He looks just wrecked, just ruined. Just needs to take up a career in, I don't know, pundit maybe. Anyway, Jesus, yeah, he was superb. He really
Bring us
superb.
more misery. Is it nearly over, by the way?
No, got half an hour left yet.
Oh, excellent. More goals.
So yeah, I mean, he was really good on the day, like you said, and I didn't understand the substitution at all. Like, I didn't get it. I didn't, because he's, like you said, Tom, he drifts into midfield sometimes and helps out, and his work rate's so good. He's a massive goal threat. Like Lauren said, he's scoring from open play now, and he's probably one of our, he's one of our best players, And when he was withdrawn with Partey, it was bizarre. I didn't get that, because get another goal, the game's over. So yeah, didn't get that substitution, but again, he's superb, and he's going to be, like we keep saying, he's going to be key, isn't he? And wouldn't it be great if he got the winner at City? Wouldn't it be great?
That would be nice. That would be scripted, wouldn't it? That'd be the final flourish. And we're looking forward to that game, by the way, Potters. We're not going to shy away from that. We're going to give it some, because next week we do the Southampton game the day before the Man City clash, which is epic. If anyone's around towards the tail end of the week, we'll probably nip in before the Tuesday, but we'll try and sort that out another time. Lauren, 10 minutes. It looked like it was going to be a really bad afternoon for West Ham. Rubbing my hands. Old Martinelli was conjuring up all sorts. Take us through that Odegaard goal. Can you remember it? I mean, it was all such a blur, wasn't it? It was all happening, and you didn't know where to look.
It was very quick. I thought Martinelli started the game very, very well. I think he put a ball in and it deflected off one of the West Ham players, bounced back to him, and he whipped in a gorgeous ball. All Odegaard had to do was tap it in, more than tap it in, but he placed it perfectly, and Odegaard got his foot into it. And yeah, it looked.
He got
pretty
two
much,
bites of the cherry, didn't he? One with the outside
yeah.
of the foot, and then the other with the inside of the opposite foot. And it was, I
Mhm.
mean, Odegaard was kind of saying, "I'm here, I'm here." And you
Yeah,
thought,
yeah.
oh, if that goes across, there might be a chance.
Absolutely. No, it was a well-placed ball, well spotted. Definitely wasn't an easy pass to get to him, but Odegaard had plenty of space there. He made it look easier than it was, I think. But no, it was a great goal. And look, we were 2-0 up at the time, and it was a great feeling. Great feeling. But
It was. We were popping the beers at that point.
Yeah. No, but it was a great goal. It was a really, really good goal, and I hopefully, if we're going to take some positives from the game, that was a really well worked piece of play. And Martinelli, his first cross didn't go in, but he was there waiting for the second attempt to put the ball back into the box. And I think that was just, as Jay mentioned, the killer instinct. It was that lack of grit and determination to, if at first it doesn't work, be there and be ready to pick up and to keep fighting for it. But that just kind of dropped off then as the game went on, unfortunately.
Yeah, West Ham looked flat. They looked disjointed. We broke them down very easy. It was easy to find the space. Even though they did the high press to start with, they just couldn't cope with it, and they couldn't live with us. I thought they were going to get absolutely hammered. There was such a gulf between the two sides. However, Podders, as you all know, Arsenal took their foot off the accelerator and started to play this tippy-tappy, non-productive football, which really annoys me. It was great to watch, like an exhibition match. And this is, again, Jay, I think this is a complacency thing. It was good to watch. It was Ole football, but we weren't going anywhere. And I was sitting there and I said to Dave, hey, we've just got to keep pushing. We've got to get this third, because I've got a nasty feeling they're just going to run onto a chance in a minute. And so it turned out. But we allowed West Ham a little bit of breathing space. It's this ruthless streak. We've been accused of being a bit cocky as well as casual. What do you think about that, Jay? Cocky and casual. I think that was Piers Morgan.
No, I, that's what I'm saying. I don't buy that. I don't, because I think the players are so. I didn't see any cockiness or at Anfield. I didn't see any cockiness against West Ham or complacency in the sort of the in the normal sense. I think, honestly, I just think it's just down to so many different factors. You know, you look around the pitch and Thomas Partey, who's such a massive influence on the team, he's not playing well. So then who else have you got on the pitch? You've got Zinchenko, he's not playing. He's another big voice that's been, you know, heavily important this season. So then who else you've got? Ramsdale, he's in goal. So he's limited to the amount, you know, of import. You need leaders out there, and you need, when players aren't playing well, or certain parts of the game where certain, you know, performances have dropped off, you need others to step up. You know, it was such a great start that I just, honestly, I think it's a one-off. I don't think we're going to see that for the rest of the season, because we haven't seen that. I think I just go by the evidence of this season's performances, and yeah, we haven't won every game. Yes, we've dropped points. Every team drops points, blah blah blah. But even in Everton apart, we haven't seen that in the games where we've dropped points. You know, okay, Anfield was only a couple of weeks ago, but we could have won that game as well. We had that chance at the end. Saka had the chance. You know, he was clean through. You win the game. Win the game, and nobody cares about the fact that we've conceded a 2-goal lead, because we've won the game. You know, and Saka scores that penalty. We win the game 3-2. Nobody cares about the drop-off. Nobody's talking about us being cocky. Nobody's talking about us being complacent. Everybody's, you know, and the performances could have been exactly the same. We just end up winning the game. You know,
it's all these fine margins.
This is what I'm saying. This is what I mean. Years gone by, Fergie's Man United or Wenger's Arsenal, Mourinho's Chelsea especially, they weren't particularly great to watch. They won games at pivotal moments, and they dealt with the pressure. And then the little aspects of the team performance is forgotten because of the result. Now, we didn't get the result, and that's been highlighted so much more because we have been so ridiculously consistent this season. You know, we got the win against Bournemouth, but nobody's thinking about that. You know, nobody remembers that performance, really. We all remember it because we watched the team at close proximity. But that was a bad performance against Bournemouth. We didn't play very well in that game, but we got the win. But we still conceded, you know, the amount of goals we did. We've been conceding a lot of goals recently. Ramsdale's been keeping us in games and winning us points, which is great. But you don't want your goalie to have a good, you know, you don't want him to be involved. And I just think there's been, you know, obviously losing Saliba as well cannot be, you know, it can't be understated. He was such a huge player for us. You know, his physical, you know, he's an absolute specimen. The way he imposes himself on forwards, how strong he is, how quick he is. To lose him is massive. You know, he's one of our best players this season. You know, you can't, you know, that Rob Holding, I think he's done well since he's come in, but the last couple of games, he's limited. You know, he's shown his limitations. You know, he's touched tight far too often. You know, there were times in that second half against Antonio where he's really, really tight up against him. And if he gets spun, which he does more often than not, he hasn't got the recovery pace like Saliba has, and we're in trouble. And these little factors, you know, it's just, I think it's just the fact that we're dropping points. A lot of the media and a lot of the pundits are absolutely desperate for us to fail. They're so badly, they want to jump on it, don't they? And you can tell, you know, with a lot of the post-match on Sunday, you know, I saw an interview on Sky with Neville and Keane, and, you know, Neville was making the point that it wouldn't be a disastrous season if Arsenal didn't win the league. and Keane was saying it would be a disastrous. And I could see both their points, you know, because we're out of the cups, like Keane was saying, went out early doors of the cups, and we haven't won the league. So I can see that point of view, but I can also see Neville's point of view. You know, we've progressed and got a lot better. I just think that the spotlight's obviously on us because we're top of the league, and I think I think West Ham have to be given credit for Sunday. They played themselves back into it. Nobody's mentioning that. Nobody's mentioning the fact that they're fighting for their lives down there. You know, they've been crap all season, but they've still got good players. You know, the Declan Rice is quality. You know, even when they were all awful in that first half, he was running around, wasn't he? He was pressing and he was leading by example. Still got dangerous players. Bowen's still a good player, and they're a Premier League team. Like Lauren said, no game's easy, is it? No game is easy, and no game is.
I think you've hit it on the head. There's two factors there. Saliba is a massive miss. You're going to miss that composure, that intelligence, that brawn, which he brings. All of those, and yeah, I mean, it's just kind of a shocking time for him to get injured. What was the other point? I've forgotten now. Never mind.
It's just that West Ham just need to be given.
Yeah, they're down the bottom. They're fighting for their lives. Every point they get is a point that may get them to cling on to survival in the Premiership. And then we've got Southampton as well.
The last thing I just wanted to say on it, on that the complacency thing, I think another positive as well is that we've still got enough games to learn from this. You know, this isn't fatal. This isn't like this penultimate game of the season, and we've dropped enough points now to that it's not in our hands. It still is in our hands. It's in our hands in exactly the same way as it was before kickoff. You know, it's just we've got a few less points. Yeah. You know, but and obviously the goal difference, but. We're going to win it. We're going to win at the Etihad anyway, so it won't matter.
When we were talking, well, you were talking about the media sort of going into cartwheels. Dave Jones on Sky, I thought he was going to explode. He was so excited that Arsenal were coming a cropper. I ditched the normal after-match analysis because I just thought, oh, they're going to incite me to violence. Really are. Lauren, let's push on. Our defending, as we said, was poor again. Very naive. So 32 minutes, Arsenal unravel, hit the self-destruct button when Partey, of all people's, caught in possession. Walk us through that, Lauren, because it was an unbearable patch. He was never going to beat Rice with that sort of ball, trying to cheekily chip it over him, wasn't he?
Now, I do have something to say about this. It was 100% a handball in the build-up. They have not gone back to look at that. It was 100% a handball. Okay, that's something that's frustrated me about this.
I've got some ref stuff for you.
Don't worry, I just had to get that off my chest, guys. It's really been weighing on me. Yeah, Partey tried. Look, it was a bit tight at the back. It was a bit, tippy tappy, a bit too close to the box to be messing around like that. Partey tried to flick it over Rice's head. Yeah, most of the time we get away with it as well. But look, it's two different players playing in that back line as normal. It's not as fluid as it's going to be. Thomas Partey was having an off game. There's a lot of different factors here that didn't help the situation. Yeah, ball flicked up. Definitely hit Declan Rice's arm to fall nicely for him. It did 100%. It did. And I think he passed. I can't remember exactly what happened after that. If he passed it directly,
he laid it off to Paqueta, didn't he?
Yeah. And who was also going down before Gabriel. No, I'm joking. But Gabriel went in with a pretty rash challenge. Let's say didn't get the ball, but don't think he got the player either.
He always got his hands up, wasn't he? He knocked someone over, and he's like, "It's not me."
You do scratch your head though, don't you? You do scratch your head what he was doing. Like, come on. The chances of coming out of that, without it being a penalty.
It was a pretty rough 5 or 6 seconds or so as an Arsenal fan, and you kind of just, let's be honest, two of our most reliable players this season, Partey and Gabriel. I mean, Gabriel kept us in the game an awful lot last week as well against Liverpool. He had a great game, but it was just a moment of sheer madness, with a few different things that didn't fall in our favor there either. And
as you say, it was one after the other, wasn't it? It was like, handball,
domino effect, yeah.
Like, what's going on?
Yeah, no, it wasn't great. Look, I think a lot of people saying, you know, it shouldn't have been a penalty. If you go in for a challenge like that, 99% chance that the penalty is going to be given because it was so rash. He wasn't
And
really
at
near the
home.
ball. Yeah, look, it was so baffling to me that nothing was checked regarding the handball, or it wasn't, you know, brought further, because that ball went off Declan Rice's arm. It was out from his body. It wasn't a natural position. Again, there's been a lot of talk about handballs this weekend, and you know what constitutes as natural movement, this, that's, the other, blah blah blah. Getting sick of talking about that now, but yeah, I think it was one of those penalty decisions.
Oh, she's mad about
probably
this, you can tell.
one of those decisions that probably could have been called back based on what had happened in the build up to it, but you know, for some reason they didn't call it back and it was allowed to be given. So
I'll give you the official account in a minute from 2 referees. Jay, was it a handball or not?
Yeah, Lawrence covered it perfectly.
There you go.
Of course it was. Of course it was. I
I
mean,
won't tell you what Dave was screaming at the TV. The kids were out in the garden. I couldn't have the kids in the house. He was manic.
that was more of a handball than the handball that we got for the penalty.
Yeah.
It's just doesn't make sense. I mean, I can't add anything more to Lauren. Like what Lauren said, it was just absolutely, it was rubbish.
Former Premier League.
You know, how can it just be like, how can that go unnoticed? I thought, isn't this ultimately the absolute bread and butter for VAR, handballs?
Yeah.
Not even
That's
close.
what it's there for.
Not even close. So bizarre.
Mark Halsey, former Premier League referee, said there were suggestions Declan Rice handled the ball. Suggestions, do you get that, Lauren? Handled the ball in the build-up, but even if there was contact, it looked to be accidental. An accidental handball is not an offence. I thought that disappeared with Elvis Presley, accidental handball. VAR would not get involved in the situation because it's subjective. Then Dermot Gallagher goes on. Oh, I can't stand him. I really can't. Luke Pickard, isn't it? John Luke Pickard from Star Trek. Right, the thing with this, does it come off his hip onto his arm? Gallagher asks. He's not sure. Does it strike his arm? If it strikes his arm, the referee has got to make a decision. It's very vague, isn't it? It's like, yeah, well, they called it, so it must be. And did it hit him on the hip?
I think the word subjective sums it up perfectly. Like, how can a handball be subjective? It either hits the arm or it doesn't. And then, you know, obviously we have this vague rule.
That's a bit like offside as well, isn't it? What's that about? Shoelaces and fingernails.
Yeah. Anyway.
Get us onto that anyway. Ben Rama takes the penalty, sends Ramsdale the wrong way. It got worse for Thomas Partey. Oh my God. What's happened? They've, like, aliens have taken him, abducted him, taken his brain out and put a cabbage in. It was that bad. He was losing possession, stray passes, all the simple stuff that you associate with his key sort of moments of the game. He's the mainstay of our midfield, but I felt this was his worst performance in an Arsenal shirt, Jay.
Real Madrid scored again, 2-0. So,
hey, lovely. See, happy days. Go on, Frank.
Yeah,
go on.
Thomas Partey. Yeah, it was
not enough time to take him to relegation, is there?
Yeah, it was a throwback, wasn't it, to when he was really struggling for form a couple of years back. He was struggling, and he's been so consistent. But that's ultimately where you need some of your teammates to step up, you know. And he had a shocker, but he is that good that even his, you know, bad performances, you know, take away the whole giving away the ball, you know, he can still break it up and he's still physically imposing it, but he just lost his head and he just didn't look very good at all, did he?
Thomas, if you're fortunate enough to watch this podcast, we still love you, but sort yourself out. The second half.
Can I just add about Thomas Partey? I know we're not going to talk about it, but obviously the very public issues that he's got, I do wonder how much that affects him. It's been going on for a long time now, and
all season.
Yeah, and just the ability to block that out when you've got the whole stadium either booing you or singing songs about you. I just wonder if, you know, from time to time, especially London derbies, that, you know, it affects him. It must do. He's human, you know. To have something like that hanging over you must be huge, you know. So I just wanted to say that. I just wondered if that was, you know,
Good point.
He's been able to just block it out, hasn't he? Well, I think he has anyway, you know, because his performances have been so good. But I just think sometimes in London derbies away from home, you know, West Ham are quite a boisterous group, aren't they, supporters? So I just wondered if that would make it any.
That's a really good point, because we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. We don't know how far this thing has progressed. So it could have progressed to such a stage that the pressure is on and his mind is kind of off his game. But yeah, very good point. The second half was more of the same. It's a bit like the Liverpool game, wasn't it, Lauren? Second best to the ball, poor in almost every department. Not really anyone in our side worth mention, apart from Jesus, who never stopped working, never stopped trying to make things happen. Just when the writing looked on the wall, there was a penalty in the 51st minute. Antonio was penalised for handball. Now, Lauren, was this handball, or was it? What was the phrase? Can't find it now. Speculative, was it? What was it?
I mean, we'll take it. I'm not going to say no to a penalty, but yeah, no, I think Jay said it perfectly there. The handball previous in the game was much more clear and obvious. I think it was a harsh slightly. He was probably about what meter, 2 meters from the, not even 2 meters from the ball.
Subjective, that's it.
Subjective, yeah, harsh, but you see them given, and you know, if it's going in your favor, you're not gonna say no to it, obviously. Look, it's a handball, it hits his arm. That's how they should be given, but it does raise the question then, why are some given and some not?
Well, was his arm in any less of an unnatural position than Declan Rice's? That's the question, isn't it?
I think it was closer to his. I can't really remember. I can't picture it now, but I think it might have been closer to his body, or was it just the fact that he was so close to the ball? Yeah. You know, if that was given against Arsenal, we'd probably be a bit peeved. We'd probably be saying, "Look, you know, what more do you want the player to do?" But at the end of the day, it hits the arm. That should be the rule with handball. It shouldn't be allowed to hit the arm. But you know, again.
Well,
why
it depends.
Does one stand and the other?
Depends who you are, doesn't it? Depends
Absolutely.
what team you are, what referee's on duty, and whether they plug the VAR in.
Yeah,
that's what it depends on. Jesus had the ball. Now, I'm not blaming Saka for missing this penalty. Anyone can miss a penalty. I've missed loads. I'm sure you've missed your fair share. Lauren, have you taken any penalties? I bet you've missed a few as well, haven't you?
I think I only took one and it went in. I think after that I said, you know what, 100% success rate. That sounds good to me, so I'll stick with that.
But he had the ball, and I thought, I said to Dave that he's going to step up. He's going to take this. He's got every right to do that. You would expect him to take it. And then Saka wound up with the ball. Now, as I say, I'm not beating up Saka. Fabulous player, love him to bits. But it had Jesus's name all over it. Just going to make a point here. Paul Hedge on social media said, poor decision by Partey, and in all fairness, Jesus should have taken that penalty to bury it, and hopefully we would have won the game from there. What happened? Who makes these decisions, Jay? Is it just like, oh, well, I'll take it, and you just let it? Surely it's a captain's decision, isn't it? Or well, someone, the manager says, you're the first penalty taker?
Well, Saka's the penalty taker. Took him all season. And Jesus hasn't got a very particularly good record. So when I saw Jesus have had the ball, I didn't want him to take it. I said no. I wanted Saka to take it. He stepped up.
It's your fault.
You know, you think of, I mean, scored against Liverpool. Off the top of my head, you know, he scored penalties all over, you know, all through the season. Super consistent. Wasn't having a great game, but you know, still, I had full confidence that he'd score. And I think the type of penalty, I mean, it didn't look good, right? You know, the execution was awful, but the way that he tried to place it in that top corner, that's confident. You know, he was confident. It was just a miss hit. He just mishit the ball. You know, you normally, if you're a bit nervous, you go smash it straight down the middle. But he went to just curl it in the top corner. Poor execution. But no, I know no issues. It's Saka's. You know, I'd rather Odegaard take it than Jesus. I'd rather him take penalties than Jesus. I'd rather, you know, I think Xhaka can ping a good one. You know, but I said at the time when Saka missed, we were watching it, all of us, and I was like, it's just not meant to be this game. It's just you could feel it, couldn't you? You know. slipping
It was
away.
slipping away, yeah.
Yeah, you could just feel, you know, the tide. You know, we've obviously all watched football at all different levels, and you know, we've played, you know, and you just know when the tide's turned, and you're like, we're going to do well here to get out of this with anything, because we were just didn't feel, you know, it just didn't feel right.
It's like someone turned a switch off, Jay. It was like someone had sucked the energy out of us. There was nothing.
Yeah, because if we score, like we said, it's game over. The stadium are quiet, people are leaving, and there's no way back. But wasn't meant to be.
2 minutes later, after the penalty, a hopeful ball pops in behind the Gunners' back line. Bowen times his run to perfection to stay onside and finds the net on a volley via a touch from Ramsdale. I mean, that Bowen, he just looked troublesome, didn't he? He looked like he was building up ahead of steam. Lauren, if we had the chance, would you take a punt?
Sure, why not? I think,
she's
you know,
very matter of fact, isn't she? She gets all aggy and then she's matter of fact. I love
it. No, I mean, I think everyone was kind of joking about this game, you know, going into it. Oh, you know, it's Declan Rice's time to shine before he comes to Arsenal during the summer, blah, blah, blah. You know, West Ham don't have a lack of good players. They have some really, really great players in their squad, despite where they are in the table. They're also contending with European football this season with the, let's be real, a limited squad depth when we compare it to other Premier League teams in European competitions. So, you know, it's definitely not the lack of quality in their team that has them in the position that they are. It's just, you know, they're probably stretched thin with the resources they have. Jared Bowen, a phenomenal player, Declan Rice as well, you know, quality spilling out there. It's just, I don't think they're getting the credit this season because, as I said, you know, they're a bit spread thin. But no, you know, they were able to dig it out against us, and everyone looked very, very good. And I wonder, is it, you know, kind of them showcasing what they can do before a busy summer for them, hopefully trying to get big moves to teams like Arsenal, you know, that was what struck me. It was almost ironic, you know, and, you know, we talked about Partey having a really bad game and Declan Rice, that kind of battle going on in there in the middle. So much talk about Declan Rice coming to Arsenal now. I wonder, was that also playing maybe a little bit on Partey's mind as well, thinking, you know, maybe I'm reading too deep into it, but you know, just the comparison. I haven't seen Partey play that bad in a very long time, so it would have to have been something. You know, there has to have been something going on.
Do you reckon Declan went up to him, whispered in his ear, "I'm having your slot next year. I'm having your position."
You know, if he did, he definitely rattled him. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure if that's what it was. But you know, there's so many reasons we could look
I'm coming
into.
into that dressing room.
Yeah. No, there's plenty of reasons we could look into, and you know, there's one or two players in that squad who you think, yeah, they'd be great additions to deepen our squad, you know, as well.
64th minute, we went close. Jesus passes the ball out to Tierney, who cuts back. It looks destined to be turned in by the Arsenal striker. Just didn't happen. He didn't get anything on it, did he, Jay? You were just thinking, oh yeah,
should have scored. Just going back to the Bowen goal, should Ramsdale have done better?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, floppy hand, wasn't it?
At the time, it's tough because it was a great run from Bowen, stayed on side.
Yeah.
And from what I remember, his hand kind of flat back. It wasn't a strong hand, was it?
So it's a tough one, but I think, you know, I think if you were to ask Ramsdale, I think because, like you said, Tom, because his hand sort of wasn't a strong hand he had, I can imagine that he's a bit disappointed that he didn't get more on that. I mean, I'm not blaming him. I'm not blaming him. I'm just, it was a tough shot to save, but he's a top goalkeeper, and he's, you know, he set the bar so high, like the lot of them, that, you know, even the smallest, this is what I was saying, even the smallest little mistake, you know, gets highlighted and whatever. I'm not saying it was a mistake. I just think, I thought at the time, should he have saved that? Should he have got more on that? Because he went into the sort of the side of the goal, didn't it? It went in slightly, a little bit more.
I was more concerned about the amount of space that Bowen had. He just
going to say that
he was onside. There was no one around him. I suppose he probably would have been on Gabriel's side more so than, you know, Holding. I think everyone likes to point at poor Rob, but the amount of space he had there, you know, and I think it did take. I think he hit it into the ground and it bobbled up, or, you know, it jabbed up. I would be looking at that more from the perspective of where is the defender in this situation, you know, and
Yeah,
Great point there, Lauren, as well, because, sorry, Jay, great point there, because Gabriel was coming from his side and often going over the other side to kind of mop up where Holding was. I don't know whether that was relevant, but it did leave a gap now and again. So, yeah, valid point. Jay, sorry.
No, I was just going to say that the chance that you mentioned, that was a good little move when Jesus played the ball down the line. Tierney crossed it in. Oh, you know, you're talking off, you know, feet, aren't you? If he was just two or 3 feet close to the ball, a goal, no doubt. We're still creating chances this year, and you know, it wasn't as bad. I mean, it wasn't great. Don't get me wrong, but we were still creating chances, and I mean, we should have scored that one.
When Nketiah came on, I thought, oh, he's going to get on the end of something. I was still hanging on. I was hanging on to the prayer. 82nd minute, Antonio clipped the bar. We held on 4 points lighter over those 2 games, but still 4 points out in front. So it's not all doom and gloom, Podders. Some of the reactions we get onto in a sec. We've got some time left. Let's do the match stats. West Ham first, Arsenal second. 16 shots, 11 for us. 3 shots on target for them, 5 for us, 28% possession for them, 72% for us, 226 passes for the hosts, 601 passes for us. That must have been that 10 minutes that they were messing about with up the top there. I was going, yay, ole, and it just went on forever. 69% pass accuracy for them, 87% for us. Social media platforms were busy waving the white flags, as I said, in general, and writing off our chances quicker than the media. I just want to go back to the old Churchillian thing. I will never give up, never give in. We've got a chance to actually bring this trophy home. And until it's mathematically impossible to do that, I think everyone should be hopeful, mindful, and get behind that team. We will pick up on this with some of the social media things, but if you're not behind the team, if you're going to just slag them off and not support them, get the bike, get the bus, get out. We don't need you. 100% or not at all. As I said to you guys, 89 was a lot worse than this. Going to Anfield, the last game of the season, and we needed 2 clear goals to win, and we did that. So it's not impossible. Anyway, back to social media. Glenn O'Glaser, our mate Glenn, he said the so-called Sky commentary team seems so desperate for Arsenal to fail. And by the way, it's Tierney, not Teeny, and Xhaka and not Xhaka. Very irritating. We'll take your point, Glenn. Jamie Carragher said Arsenal played out of this world in the first half at Anfield and at West Ham. This was nerves. This wasn't nerves. They haven't bottled it. They found it too easy and got cocky. That goes back to that thing I was saying about Neil Griffiths said Arteta is to blame for this. Really? A carbon copy disaster 2 weeks running. And once again, his inexperience has been exposed. Arteta is not the man to take us to the title. To hell with the Champions League. We threw away a big chance for the title to qualify for a tournament that we have no chance of winning. This was our last chance to win the league and we bottled it. What says you, Jay?
It's not our last chance. It's not.
I know. It's
not at all. I don't know.
Talk about overreaction, but you know,
yeah, I don't know why there's this narrative that we're going to fall away next season. Like, why? Why can't we progress and improve?
Yeah, we haven't even done this one yet, and they're worried about messing it up in the next season, which is even worse.
Yeah, we're going to be stronger next season because we're going to have Champions League money. We're going to be, regardless of what happens this season, we're going to be more experienced and going to be more prepared. And yeah, we're not going to fall away at all. I mean, look, they are the media and pundit and everyone. They are desperate for us to fail because we've done so well this season, and we've achieved much more than we expected to. But I don't know if you guys felt the same. But you know, after the game on Sunday, I kind of thought there's no pressure on us now. I don't think there's any pressure on Arsenal now. I said at the time, I think the pressure's now all on City. You know, we're 4 points clear, but These last two games, yeah, it showed vulnerability and, you know, lack of experience, blah, 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 blah. But also there has been pressure on us, but I don't feel as a supporter that the pressure's there much anymore. I think we can go out on Friday and we can just play without that fear, because I don't know why. I just felt, you know, like there was this huge amount of pressure. As soon as that final whistle went, all of that pressure was released, and now that's onto City. And now we have to go on. If we go to Southampton on Friday, win the game, we're 7 points clear. They've got a couple of games in hand. All the pressure's on them. You'd rather have the points than the games. City are immense, don't get me wrong. They are scarily good. The reason that none of us have really ever came out and said we're going to win the league is because they're so good. Is because they have got Haaland, this ridiculous beast of a savage striker. You know, they've got great players all over the pitch. They can bring in £50 million defender after £50 million defender or whatever. And they've got the experience, the reigning champions, great team, great manager, all that. You know, we're still ahead of them. All the pressure's on them now, you know, and the players just have to, you know, this is what Arteta gets paid for. You know, he needs to be the one instilling into them, just continue to do what you've done all season. Shut these people up. Use all this criticism criticism as motivation, and go for it. You know.
Well, there's a few more bits here. Henry Winter, the journalist, said Arsenal FC aren't bottling it. That's naive and disrespectful. Just paying for individual mistakes. Xhaka versus Trent, Partey versus Rice, Saka missed a penalty. Games and titles are defined by details. Nobody pre-season expected young gunners in contention. I went City, Loads did, AFC ahead of schedule. George Armstrong's daughter said, seriously, get behind the team. They need us more than ever. No time for negativity. The Arsenal, and a big love heart. And Bernadette, 68, said, it hasn't taken long for fans to single out players for criticism. Last one, Gary Lawrence. A lot of Arsenal fans, he blew me there, because it's a lot, right? Spelling, typo. A lot of Arsenal fans are throwing in the towel. It's still to play for. This is when supporters need to get behind the team and back them. Southampton is an ideal game to get back on the winning trail. Keep the faith. Come on, you Gunners. Right, let's get to that Southampton game. I'm not going to do player of the match, because it will probably be Declan Rice or Bowen for me. And we're not here to promote those people. So Southampton next. That's going to be incredibly important, isn't it? Another club in the mire, scrapping about for points. Thoughts on this game, Lauren?
Yeah, do you know what? I like Jay's point that you made there. The pressure does feel like it's off, and I kind of, even for myself as a supporter, I feel like I'm going into this game to watch them play and enjoy them and see what comes out of it. Yeah, I don't. They should come out with the win from this game, but you know, we've seen now against, I think we probably all went into the West Ham game expecting a win. It didn't do us too well. But look, you know what, whatever, just hope that everyone's back and everyone's playing to their best. We've played them already, we drew them already, we know what we need to improve, and look, it's really is one of the, we've had many games that we've said this is the crunch time, this is the test to see if they can prove us wrong, if they can prove they're up to the challenge. And you know, up until now they've come out every single time and they've proven us wrong when we least expected it. So there's a lot to be positive about. There's a lot to, you know, to look forward to. I'd love to see Trossard start, to be honest. I think we the more the games go on, the more harsh it seems that he isn't being given a start, considering things just aren't clicking really. You know, he's not being brought on early enough. Hopefully, you know, we have Zinchenko back. To be honest, I'd rather not risk any further injuries. So if he needs another game to wait it out for the City game, I'll take that as well. But realistically, it should be a game that we win. Can't go into it cocky, can't go into it expecting the win, but we know what we have to do to get the 3 points to ensure that we bring City all the way to the very end. So yeah.
I think it is going to be interesting. It could be one of those. We've seen it in the past where managers have a bit of a panic attack.
Mm.
You know, things aren't going right, Jay, and suddenly they start tinkering where they didn't used to tinker. I've heard as well is that Saliba's back in training, what that means for the Southampton game or looking ahead to the City game. What's your thoughts on team selection? Like Lauren said, Trossard, very unlucky to miss out, but we don't want to mess about with it too much, do we?
No, I think there'll be one or two changes. I think Trossard will start. I think that might be one of the only changes. I wouldn't want to see Saliba involved at all. I don't think he will be either. I think we're going to win comfortably. I think it's going to be one of those games where we're going to find our groove again, and I think we're going to take them apart. I don't know if you remember the equivalent, the fixture earlier in the season at St Mary's. It was pretty much the same as the game on Sunday. We dominated early on. Should have been 2 or 3 goals up. Obviously on Sunday we were, but we managed to score one. Should have had a penalty. Second half, Southampton just got on top, equalised, and they should have won. I don't think it'd be like that. I honestly think we're going to play like the pressure's off a little bit, and we're going to hopefully get some confidence back, get a few goals. I think it'll be pretty much the same side, other than I think Trossard will start. I think Martinelli will drop down to the bench. I mean, Smith Rowe.
Not a bad substitute to bring on. Yeah, Smith Rowe hasn't had a sniff.
You want him involved. You want him involved, but he's just not getting anywhere near it, is he? You know, he's not getting involved at all. Not getting any minutes anywhere. I mean, if we could get him anywhere near the player he was last season before he got injured, obviously, then that'd be great. But then there won't be too many changes, I wouldn't have thought.
I'm surprised you dropped Martinelli though. I thought he had a good enough game on
who'd you
Sunday,
drop?
Saturday, whatever day it was. I think Saka looks like he needs a rest.
Yeah, but I don't think you can drop him after missing the penalty.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Actually, yeah, I forgot about that.
What does that
Yeah.
say? You know, I think Martinelli. I mean, he was good, but you're not going to drop. I think Trossard as well. He hasn't done anything to deserve to be dropped, has he? You know, he's played so well and been so consistent that he deserves to play as well. But good problems to have. Maybe no changes. Maybe no changes. I just thought the same as you, Lauren. I thought that Trossard maybe should come in because it could be one of those games where Southampton have a really deep back four, most probably 5. They have a 4 in midfield, and it's a really deep defence, low block, and they're going to need the guile of Trossard getting the ball good in tight little areas and, you know, flicking it around the corners and stuff. But good options to have, all good players. And I mean, obviously the 3 points is the most important thing, but I think we're going to see a little bit. I think it's going to be a bit nicer to watch. Well, fingers crossed.
Let's hope so. I can't do any more of that. Let's not give away a free kick, not with Ward-Prowse on the prowl, because that will be deadly. And the way we are in defence at the moment, that will be terrible, absolutely devastating. Me personally, I'm getting really superstitious. I do this when I go through a tough time. I don't want to make a prediction other than an Arsenal win. Jay, what's your position? He's going to go for it. He's tempted.
Yeah, I think it's going to be about 3 or 4-0.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Lauren, how do you feel?
I'll go for a win as well. I think, you know, stay positive, but I am concerned about defensive issues at the moment, especially if we have Holding and Tierney starting again, regardless of who it's up against. I do think we're going to leak goals, so probably a 3-1 win, let's say.
Yeah, I think the thing is we can't afford to come away with a draw, and we can't afford to get beat. We've got to go there and take it to them. But again, like West Ham, struggling, they're going to bring a game. Let's just cover a few things. We'll do this first. The podcast is brought to you by Manscaped Performance Package 4.0, the best above and below the waist grooming experience, and Zenith Coins, our new partners, for quality football collectibles that you will want to add to your collection. Let me just show you this. Comes in a lovely little package. Let's get it a little bit nearer to the camera. Arsenal there, and we'll turn it onto the reverse. Beautiful, beautiful coins. And it comes with the authenticity label, and it actually tells you what number of the mint it is. But have a look at this one as well. This got me really excited when I opened it. There you go. It's the clock end edition, and white and with the little logo on the back. And again, it's got the little box with clock end and the number of the mint or press or whatever you call it. I'm not very good at all that sort of stuff, but they are excellent. And you can buy them online. Go to Zenith Coins and you will be able to get some discount. Let's give you the discount codes. Firstly, for the performance package 4.0, go to their site, 20% off, and it is ARS03. That's what you will need to put in. And if you want the clock ends or the Arsenal coin, 15% off, and it's ARS71. All key bits, obviously, with the numbers that we give you. 71, the double winning year, and obviously our superb gold trophy in 03. Right, let's just cover this. I don't know whether you saw it. It came out just this morning, so I haven't had much time to kind of look into it. But the mascot, did you see the story? Ignored by the Arsenal players, everyone's up in arms. Piers Morgan, all sorts of people. Nick Knowles, I mean, what's he doing commenting on things like this? Go and build a house somewhere, go and renovate something. Yeah, I mean, it looked bad, but I think we've had one of these before, Jay, haven't we? Where our players were supposedly ignoring, and then after the story came out, the players actually took the kid into the inner sanctum, as it were, and treated him like a superstar. So there's a real bad edge that the media is bringing again. It's that media conspiracy, isn't it?
So the video is it was released by the club through their official Twitter feed, and it's 1 minute 50 seconds long. Shows the players signing the shirt for this for the mascot, this young girl. She was standing there with her dad. Each player's going by and they're signing the shirt, and the players aren't interacting with the girl. 1 minute 50, right, of the entire day. You know, she was the mascot. You know, you arrive there a few hours or an hour before kickoff and whatever, and you're there all day. So they released 1 minute 50, and then you got people like Andy Goldstein and Nick Knowles, like you said, massively criticizing the club. And it's just gone crazy. It's just gone way overboard. I just want to say, I want to give you my experiences in relation to the club. It's similar sort of things, right? So my son, we first went to Arsenal when my son was, forgive me, I think he was 6. He's now 17, right? So that's 11 years we've been going to the club, going to the games. We've been to a few away games, but the majority of the games we go to is at home, at the Emirates. And first and foremost, the match day experience, we have been treated brilliantly by. Now, just to give you a back, my son is he's disabled. He's got a condition that he's got a muscular wasting condition, so he's in a wheelchair. And we have been treated first and foremost by the club staff immensely. They are so far ahead of the majority of other clubs that they set the standard. We've also interacted with Arsene Wenger. We've also interacted with Mikel Arteta. And again, been treated just so much better than you'd ever expect to be. And then also with the players, you know, a tiny little video like that shows absolutely a tiny little snippet of that girl's day. You know, if you look a little bit more into it, her dad has been tweeting today saying, you know, it was an amazing day. Apparently her dad has had some reporters knocking on the door of their house. Just stupid, ridiculous. But you've got people like Andy Goldstein, who works on Talk Sport every day, millions of followers, on his Twitter account. Obviously, so many more millions listening in, and he's commenting publicly like that. I mean, what kind of irresponsible? That's bullshit. You know, that's just not right. And it's bizarre, really, because all clubs release these things. All clubs release these videos, and it should just be common knowledge that it's only 1:50 long. You're not going to release all of the, you know, the footage or whatever, because it's just not going to happen. So, just going back to my own experience, we've been down to the Emirates on plenty of times this season. We've been so lucky to go, and again, the staff, the club, even people that I deal with via email, liaison officers, everybody at the club, it's full of class, and it's full of care, and it's full of, you don't get fobbed off, you don't get passed around, if you get dealt with, and the club are superb at doing this. And they've done this, like I said, when my son was 6 years old, and every year we've been going, and it's never wavered. They've been superb. And I just wanted to say that, because it really made me angry when the club are being slated and the players are being slated, because yeah, I'm sure you can build any narrative from any, you know, if you don't show the full story. And it just didn't sit right with me, because they've always done right by us, and they've always done right by a lot of people that I know, and you know, and the club are good, and they pride themselves on things like the Arsenal Foundation, and they've prided themselves with the work with the Willow Foundation, and all the other charities, and the great work that they do in and around, you know, in and around Highbury and Islington. And it's just rubbish there. And I mean, Nick Knowles, like you said, what's he doing commenting? What's he got, you know? But I mean, and the Goldstein thing really annoyed me, because of, like I say, the reach that he has. And obviously his Man United bias, he's got that on him. But I just thought that was poor form and like lazy journalism, you know. I thought it was just crap. But I suppose you expect it from TalkSport.
I'm glad you did that. I'm glad you put that point of view across, because it's easy to just absorb this nonsense. As you say, a snippet out of a whole day. Let's have the quote from Jay Murray, or Muzzy Gooner, as he goes on Twitter. My daughter had a lovely time as mascot for the Arsenal. There was only a small window to meet the players, and she enjoyed it very much. Odegaard is her favourite player, so to hold his hand onto the pitch was very special. And they do other stuff. I mean, I don't know whether you've seen the footage, but there's one of Kieran Tierney. He goes back to behind the scenes, and he gets the little girl come in and gives her a shirt and some tickets to the following game, signs the shirt, has pictures done. None of that came out like this. Ramsdale's always giving his shirt away. Saka's been instrumental with kind of getting involved with kids and stuff like that. So to every story, there is an antidote. Guys, we're knocking on a bit, aren't we? We're pushing the boat out. We'll have to close up the shop in a minute. Thanks ever so much for a brilliant podcast. There's been lots of good talking points. We'll be back to discuss the Southampton game the day before the most important game of the season. Another important game of the season, people. Against Manchester City. Every game's important till the end, till we wind up with that thing, hopefully. And I haven't burnt my bridges. So we'll be back for that one. Podders, just keep the faith, trust the club, believe in the team, and get behind them, because that's what we need at this moment in time. Jay, thanks very much. Lauren, thanks a lot, and we'll see you on the next one. And don't forget to let me know if you're available after that City game. We will pump something out on the podcast. You take care.
Bye-bye.
See you guys.